wanna be free when my people to prosper and hold it down. Don't you sit and wait, contemplating on a revolution. The time is now. I just wanna be free. 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 Can't you see? I just wanna be free.
Okay. Another episode of Things I Wish I Knew About Money podcast. I'm your host, Kamille Smith. And have we seen a pattern yet? Late. I'm apologizing again. Yes. However, I have a good reason. Um, this episode is late again because I've been extremely tired. At, a little bit of tired and a little bit of this topic. I didn't know if I should have it, because not only do I feel like I'm in the thick of things, but also, should I still do this series and make it deep, or should I rearrange the series or not have a series and just keep it moving? Because ideally, the next week or this week coming up is more positive, right? So, but I guess, with this series, yes, I decided from last week that this is going to be a series. The financial reset series. So it's basically unlearning, rebuilding, and rising. And I think it only makes sense to have this type of topic because I feel like many of us can relate. And there's also a different way I want to angle it as well, but I just don't know how to angle it at the moment. So we're just gonna rock. We're just rock with me today. Bear with me. If it feels like it's too deep, I'll try to um smooth it out, make some jokes and things. Um but yeah, thank you for everyone that has listened to the first part of the series, unlearning the things that we learned before. And should I give you guys a recap? Just the way that, like, how we didn't know certain things, and still seeing the school curriculum last week was pretty dope. Still haven't got anyone to talk to me about it, so please, to all my teachers and friends that are teachers or loved ones that are teachers, come true, let's have a discussion, but yeah, I think having this discussion will help other people that feel the same way or just seeing a different side of things, right? I got my cool glasses on, I have my sweater on. Those shall not try me. Mood 24/7. That's just the mood I'm in. As I said, I'll try to keep it cool and everything. But yeah, once again, uh, it's gonna be a busy couple weeks coming up, or months. So if you want to help, buy a coffee, right? Also, eh, I remembered it this time, so I'm gonna do it like this. So join Discord, of course. Um, I just want to do it like that so you guys know that I'm actually talking. Join Discord, of course, by emailing me things I wish I knew about money at gmail.com, or, hey, Come closer. Come closer. Take a look. Take a look. Or you can click that you can click the QR code. Okay? Click it. Click it. See how it goes. It'll be pretty cool. And then you'll be able to join Discord that way. Right? So that's pretty cool. That's pretty dope. And what else? Golly, I'm trying to think what happened this week. Sorry, just so we had our first snowstorm of the year or the season. I don't know, however you want to say it. Listen, listen. Um, friggin' there was how many accidents happened this yeah. First of all, I thought it was going to snow later. I think I was mentioned to someone that was going to happen on a Tuesday, Remembrance Day. Um, but then I seen another post that said Monday, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm not planning to go anywhere. And then the next was, nope, it's happening Sunday. It's starting at 4 a.m. in the morning. I'm like, what? How did it just get from here to there? Like, golly, Bob. Right? So then I was like, okay, well, I ain't going nowhere. I had no worries in the world. Um, which is true. But clearly, other people had places to go, and it's safe to say 200 and something people did not prepare for winter or a snowstorm. I'll say a snowstorm because it's not winter yet. It's winter's in February. But like, folks, as much as I hate the snow, it's kind of wild that people aren't prepared for the snow. But hey, what do I know? I just be chilling these days. But it's for folks that haven't got their tires done, get your tires done. Let's be safe. Safety over everything, right? I rather folks be safe than anything else, right? Let's see. What else? Just doing DIY projects again. Those are fun. I know what stuff I like to do and I know what stuff I don't like to do. But as I oh man. So yes, join. If you don't want to join, it's cool. But why wouldn't you want to join? Be able to talk to other people about your investments and stuff. And that is actually nope. Should I say nope? I'll surprise y'all later. Right? So before I start, let me just go to our commercial break, all right?
Your money story begins with your mindset. Each day, choose words that empower you. I attract wealth with confidence and clarity. I manage my finances with wisdom. I deserve abundance in every area of life. With every affirmation, you shift closer to the future you desire. Financial affirmation cards. Shift your money mindset today.
Wow, that one's always so quick. That one is always so quick. So again, the topic today is basically financial trauma. And financial trauma can go so many different ways, right? We spoke about it briefly. But I just want to speak to folks that feel like they are feeling hopeless, feeling like they can't get a break from from life. Life is lifing, right? That's one of my favorite sayings. Life is lifing. But I just want you to know that you're not lazy. Okay, you're not lazy. It's just you're unhealed from the financial trauma that you've been dealing with. And there's so many ways that we can angle this or see it, but I just want to tell you that you're more than capable of getting through this, and I will have discussions on how we're going to get through this, right? But when it's having a discussion, we have to also know where it's coming from, right? And like I said, this is a deep one. To me, this is a deep one. If you don't feel how I feel, kudos to you. Um, right? You did very well, right? But we also have to think about how where it all begins, right? Um, and sometimes where it begins is within the family. I am not trying to butcher anybody. I promise that. But we also have to be mindful of where it begins, right? And sometimes it's cultural, sometimes it's like um with us being the some of us being the first generation Canadian, we have to be mindful of what we were taught and also when it comes to like shame and things, right? Um, there mm, there's certain phrases you would hear in your household, right? Growing up, maybe, and there's some things you think about when you're thinking about like the money shame or the trauma that you're going through with money, right? Um, like I said, as a first generation Canadian, most of our parents or grandparents came to Canada, was born and raised somewhere else, and um, migrated to Canada. So there's like a bit of a immigrant guilt, right? Like they sacrifice so I'd be able to succeed or we would be able to succeed. However you say it, like whether you're you have siblings or whatnot. So that it comes down to that guilt, right? And that guilt can be overwhelming, very overwhelming. And again, this topic is going to be like just having discussion and keep and being reflected about it, right? I just I want you to reflect on if you have this guilt or if you've seen someone that has experienced this guilt and how to have this conversation really and truly. And journaling it, going through the feelings and things, right? I can't tell you 100% how to like what's the breakthrough and stuff. I think having discussion, being mindful about it is what will encourage us to be better, right? So, you seen whether you seen your folks migrate from somewhere else and busted their ass with one or two jobs or sacrificing so many things so you could get your education and just have a meaningful life, peaceful life, um, or a life that you would be able to succeed in. You see that, you've experienced that, you felt it, so that is the immigrant guilt that you're going to experience, and then so so that comes into play, right? And of course, I wrote these things down because you know we have to be mindful. I want to stay on task. I do want to stay on task and stuff. Um, but when it comes to some of these money shames, it's like, and I think I've talked about it again. Like we didn't have those discussions. We didn't have those discussions on those talks, and it's like a silent. Even though you have that guilt, you feel like you have a burden, so that you have to overcome that. Maybe not all, maybe some, maybe a lot, but it's and then it comes with that mindset like, okay, because they made that sacrifice, I have to do the same, um to help them in the long run once I become an adult and all that stuff, right? It's now my turn to pour into them on what they poured into you. Um and I do have an article because I love having articles. And I think the article is dealing with intergenerational trauma. Uno momento. Okay, boom. So, here it is. Growing up in an immigrant household, money was used solely as a tool for survival and functionality. Any purchase that were wants were not able to always we were not always able to afford. So this is not my story. This is someone else's story, obviously. And as you can see, I'm even though it's like a South Asian story, I think it's very relatable with folks coming from the Caribbean or other places in the world, or at the continent of Africa as well. We can all relate because most of us, some of us have that story, right? Let me put this to our story. My parents immigrated to Canada in the 1990s and lived with other family members. My mom was not empowered to work, as she had to look after us as children. My grandparents couldn't help us as they wanted to travel to India every 6 months. This dependency on other family members breeded toxicity within our family. The gender expectations that my mom could not work impacted our family financial being. Again, I don't want to show the article. I just want to read it because you already know that I'm reading. I want y'all to see me, and and if anyone can relate with this story that I'm about to say, please, I'd love to hear your point of view as well. Um, so this is when being exposed to financial crisis comes into play. I was overly exposed to adult financial matters at a young age, as many first, second generation children are. The financial weight of responsibilities is a heavy burden to carry, especially for children and young adults. Here are other ways that intergenerational trauma impacts our ability to thrive financially. Trauma of being part of a marginalized group in systematic struggle, challenge, sorry. Immigrant communities face racial and systematic challenges preventing them from building generational wealth. My parents could only work minimum wage jobs as they would not have the education nor language skills to retain a salaried position. For many children of immigrant families, this is the norm. We watch our parents work long hours for minimal pay, which can be hard to witness. This breeds the narrative that money is hard to make and even harder to keep. So, hear me out. Um, this is not the experience that everyone will have, of course. I've mentioned it many times. Um, and even though this is something that the trauma that some of us have experienced, it's a sigh of relief when we have encountered differences and also encountered able to overcome this, right? I think I'm safe to say that I managed to overcome this part of minimal pay. Yeah, such as that. Let's continue. Overworking ourselves. So that's the other. That is one of the traumas, or being exposed to financial crisis, is overworking ourselves. This also teaches us that workaholicism, and striving for excellence in order to have a different outcome financially is the only option. Ding, ding, ding. We overwork ourselves, undercharge for our work, and this and are on this constant chase to prove ourselves worthy. Hi, hi, hi. If anyone knows me, that is I. Collective this cultural trauma. I did not say that, so bear with me. I hear from my clients all the time that their parents were taken advantage of by other family members. They were often made to feel ashamed because they were dependent upon other people to support them. Toxic financial sabotage. Why do I always self-sabotage? Um, Toxic financial sabotage. I'm not saying it right. Bear with me. I don't have any water near me. Galley Bob. We come from a culture where it's the many over the one, that we always need to look out for others. While noble and in some respects this is positive, it can lead to toxicity and financial sabotage. There's a word, sabotage. Jeez. Watching our parents lose money or be cast away from family is traumatizing. This often instills in us the narrative that money is toxic, or that we always need to give our money to others in order to maintain and not lose friend relationships. Financial enmeshment, financial enmeshment in immigrant families. We often need to help our parents pay bills at an early age. Education is disrupted by doing childcare, cooking, and cleaning while parents struggle to earn. This is overexposure is a money disorder called financial enmeshment, and this can impact how we behave with money later on. What is financial enmeshment? And I'm just going to put it here because the struggle is real, and I think this is, again, if this is something you've experienced, I would love to hear it. Um, so financial enmeshment is a money disorder from being overly exposed to adult financial matters as a child, obviously. Whether we remain frugal and have anxiety about parting with our money because we grew up in an environment where money was scarce. And this segues into something else. So I'm over this article, and thank heavens, because it's actually done. I feel like there's a lot of folks that can relate with this. When growing up too fast, or this is where it begins with the money trauma. We experience money disorder while growing up, and we have the anxiety, and we have the shame, and we have the um, different ways that we deal with it, right? So there's folks that go into survival mode, there's folks that go into thriving mode, but there's also folks that the way they react to it, it's just it's traumatizing. It's traumatizing. So it's either you're going to, and I've talked about this in another episode when it came to money trauma, it's either you're going to overspend, you're going to be a hoarder, or you just got to have that mindset of like you can't get over this. And I would really love, I think it first starts with having that conversation with our family, a healthy conversation again, with being able to understand where these traumas come from or how we can overcome these traumas. And depending on your age, hopefully you're able to have this healthy conversation with your family so you're able to overcome it. Or, you know what? Maybe we should consider financial therapy. And well, look at this. I found a article about that. Boom, bum, bum. Because it is real, right? Financial trauma is real. I just think thinking about why we should consider financial therapy. Maybe this is the way that I could segue into a solution. But this is an article from Forbes. And you know me, I don't want to show the whole thing. I'm just going to take some snippets of it. Okay, so, and I forgot to talk about the different type of financial trauma. So it begins with within the family, with the guilt and stuff, but we also will experience money trauma in our adult years. I don't, well, I can't say it like that. There's going to be times where you experience loss in income or employment. I'll say loss in income because of maybe hours, or maybe there's many people that have, well, there's a good amount of folks that experience loss of employment because of COVID, right? If you didn't experience in there, kudos to you. Kudos to you. All right. But there's also individuals that lost in income because of death. And that in itself is traumatizing. Especially the most traumatizing that thing that can happen when you have a major loss in income is that the amount of expenses stay the same or increases. That is when financial trauma really comes into play. Ideally, if there's a loss of income, ideally there should be a loss of expenses as well. However, because of trauma and some people stay consistent with that expense regardless if the income has dropped or the increase of the expenses at the same time as the loss of income. If that happens, you have to be, I think it's very important if that happens that you are aware. Self-awareness is very important when that comes into play. And just, you got to change your ways. You got to change it. How, however you see fit, you got to change it. If you lost income, you have to reduce your expenses or you're going to be screwed, right? And there's other financial trauma that people endure is homelessness or just sustaining financial stress due to poverty. However, there are certain things that we have to think about, right? Um, and it says it here, the reaction to said trauma can be enough to discourage participating in financial systems that have impact on the way folks think about. And there's a lot of factors that you have to think about, right? And I'll show them. This lead way still into maybe you need therapy, financial therapy, right? When you have With this type of trauma, you probably won't even think about retirement and estate planning. I've heard so many times people are living day to day and not even thinking about their future. That's why I've had episodes where I'm like, oh, you need to think about your future. You need to think about your future. You need to think about your future. Right? So I always strive to do that. Thinking about retirement and estate planning. Let's just hope and pray that you get to the point where you're able to retire or able to have somewhat of a retirement, early retirement. Remember we were talking about fire before, financial independence, um, retirement early. I think it's sometimes I don't remember the acronyms because there's so many of them now, right? And next one, that when you're dealing with financial trauma, you don't think about investing. But I feel like if you factored in investing at least, your trauma, and this is just my opinion, your trauma would actually be lessen. Um, Lessen? Less. Because with the financial trauma is like, how am I able to deal with my everyday, or how am I even going to think about like retirement and stuff? Investing. You can make your money work for you instead of just busting your ass, right? But that is the trauma that we've dealt with our, not all, but some of our family that didn't invest back in the day. They just would do active ways of making income instead of passive ways of making income, right? Some folks don't even think about, especially in this day and age, home ownership. A lot of folks with trauma, especially if they've never had an experience living in a home, sometimes that happens as well. You maybe the way the home ownership is these days, or like how much it costs. It's time consuming, or it puts a drain on you, right? Or there's also the responsible use of credit. I spoke about credit cards last week with like leveraging and stuff, whether it's good debt, bad debt, or leveraging, right? um how we're able to deal with our money traumas and how we deal with credit is very important. And last one, I'll say, not last, this is not the last one, it's just the last one I want to discuss, is banking relationships. Even um the one thing that I've acknowledged in the States is some there's a good amount of people that don't have a bank account. They use like payday loans and stuff. And I can say, yes, I've experienced this because I actually worked at a payday loan. And it was like talking to people in the States. And I was actually really shocked how many people actually did not have a bank account. And I didn't get it. And now it kind of makes sense because like everyone keeps talking about like Cash App, Zelle, and all that stuff. And I'm like, why can't you just send me it in an e-transfer? I don't know. Hey, states. Well, I don't know because now the government has shut down. Is it still shut down to this time? Like like why can't we e-transfer each other? I don't want to continue to do it using PayPal. You guys take a fee from me. PayPal takes a fee every time I get money from someone. I digress. Sorry. That was just me being a little bit bitter. Um, but yeah, like I want to speak to more like global clients and stuff. It's just the PayPal is wild. I wish there was an e-transfer and stuff, but I digress. Bank relationships. Um, Sometimes people don't think about this type of stuff, right? But hopefully some of y'all will. Um, but like financial therapy would be a solution. and this time I'll intertwine with Americans. Only 4% of US therapists are black. I guess that is if someone wanted to have a discussion or like with the intergenerational issues, I think it's ideal to like talk to someone that is in the same background as you, whether you're Caribbean, black, African, however you want to say it, South African, Indian and stuff. Maybe it's more ideal talking to someone that understands your culture as a solution, right? um, but the financial therapy would be able to help with like navigating financial decision making, financial anxiety, or financial stress that shrinks the pool into learning how to resolve things. Or even if you want to talk to like a financial coach, I think whether it's a financial therapist or a financial coach, I'm not sure if a financial planner or advisor would be ideal for this route because they're kind of looking, there's a different angle of how they're trying to look at things, right? I think sitting down with someone and actually talking about your stress, or just I guess go to regular therapy as well, but just being mindful about that, and maybe ideally looking at talking to someone that is within the culture, or at least an immigrant that would be able to understand what you're going through, right? Um, so, and counseling. I think money coach counseling is ideal. And the things that they will be able to talk about, and I think a lot of us need to talk about this, is addressing scarcity, making decisions, setting goals. Let me read this. Let me actually put this one down. Sorry. Definitely want to address this. Um, Also, making decisions is something we'd want to discuss as well. I mean, I get it. Like if you're in your late 20s, early 30s, 40s, you should know how to maneuver with making decisions, but sometimes it's hard when you're dealing with your trauma, right? Sometimes it's hard when you're dealing with your trauma. I totally understand. Because you get like foggy, you get a not able to understand why things are happening the way it is, right? Setting goals. Maybe you need to talk to someone to help you figure out your goals a little bit better, right? Whether I know you probably spoke to someone like a financial advisor, planner, but maybe with therapy, you're able to decipher those goals. Um, Reviewing your life events, whether it was birth of a child, a marriage, or divorce, or death. Um, those life events that you're able to address how it affected you, how with your financial traumas, right? And I guess the same thing with hardship. Um, how you deal with hardship. Do you avoid it? How do you avoid it? Are you in survival mode still? Are you in thriving mode? Are you just like a workaholic, like many of us are, because we don't know how to say no to certain things? Um, yeah, this is something that we want to be mindful about. Is the therapy um, where it begins? And with this, and I kind of said segue into this segment without saying it, but um, financial trauma is so deep rooted that there's certain things you're not going to able to understand or what you're carrying until you are able to understand your triggers, your your triggers, your being self-aware, right? But I also want to know that you're able to break the cycle. You are more than capable, and this is leading us into another segue, as you're able to break the silence, right? Um, you're not alone. You are not alone. You are not alone. Sorry. See, I told you I'd make it interesting. Try. I'm trying to, not I know this is a deep episode. This is and even with the way I'm talking and like quiet, soft tone and stuff. Um Breaking the silence is very key. I feel like there's many folks um that are silently suffering. Actually, funny story. The other day, I was at brunch, and um, one of my friends was like, "Yo, I seen your status, and I felt like you were speaking to me." And funny enough, they're like, "Yo, I wasn't speaking to you. I was speaking to myself." Because even though I am trying to um talk to myself, I put I'll say this happens to me too sometimes, but I'm not talking about myself at the moment. But I guess I should because it's something I do as well. There's sometimes I post statuses to talk to myself, but I'm trying to help someone else at the same time, right? Because what is it? Even though life is lifing and shit is not great, there's still an opportunity to help someone else, right? And hopefully sharing that post or status, however you quote, that you're speaking to yourself, you're able to help someone else as well. So I think a lot of people are silently suffering. And I don't know if it's a millennial thing or a Gen X or maybe a baby boomer. And maybe that again is that trauma that we learned from before, as just deal with it. Woman up, man up, however you want to say it. Um, you can break the silence. You are not alone. It's not just you dealing with this, right? Um, and there is a lot of high functioning adults that are walking beside you, working with you, dealing with a lot of shit. And um, we have to be mindful about that. First of all, be kind to one another, right? Because you don't know what people are suffering. And we are in that time of the year where seasonal affective depression happen. SAD, sad, obviously. Be mindful because people are suffering in silent, and try not to trigger folks, right? I say I try not to trigger folks because, anything, you don't want to be mean to people and stuff, right? Um, yeah, just try to help with the high functioning folks dealing with this. And do I have an article for this? Mm, I don't have one. This one could be. Okay, this one. Um, actually, no, this is not. This might be afterwards. Yeah, I want folks to start writing things down of how they feel, and also not being so hard on yourself, because especially a time like this when we're going into the holiday season, I guess we are already in the holiday season. Well, Mariah Carey is singing already, and I see already people putting up their trees and things. Golly, Bob. I want people to be more mindful and think about a budget. Think about emotionally budgeting. Not emotionally budgeting. What's the word? What's that new saying? Um, I can't remember it right now. But be kind to yourself, and sometimes you're just gonna have to say no to people. Um, and not being peer pressured into spend, especially at this time of the year. Okay. I know a lot of people are pressured to buy the best thing for their loved ones because it's Christmas time or Hanukkah, Kwanzaa. Um, we don't have to do that, especially if you're feeling stressed. There's other way that you can show your love. Um, make a meal together, do something cool. There's so many different ways that we can show people that we care and love them without buying a gift and stuff, right? Um, so that's something I want us to do is instead of feeling the pressure of going back into debt or to buy a gift or the fear that we're going to lose a relationship, nah, have that conversation. We have to start talking. We have to start talking and being self-aware of what we're going through. And if we are telling our loved ones that I just don't got it and they're going to guilt trip you, well, you already see what maybe it's time to, step back just a little bit just to deal with the things that you have to deal with. Woo! Because I am going to be mindful of the time because I got things to do as well. Um, there are going to be folks in your life, I'll say folks in your life, not just your family, that the emotional mm, hmm breaking the cycle. There are certain cycles that you're going to, before I segue, there's certain when you're breaking the silence and not suffering in silent, there's certain cycles you're gonna break. You may be the first one that finishes post secondary school in your family, right? Might be the first one to have a successful business career, and all that stuff. Um, don't let that emotional, no, don't let being the first person to do that cost you emotionally. I know how effective, how hard that could be. And it comes back to the silent suffering because there's times when you are afraid, not afraid, you don't know how to ask for help. And if you don't know how to ask for help, you are going to experience the craziest burnt out if you don't start asking for help. And that, like I said, like with having a business, it takes a team or a community. When it's having a child, it takes a village when it comes to just, you can't do this by yourself, basically, right? So dealing with something in silence, you cannot deal with it by yourself. You're gonna have to find a different way to manage it. Point blank period. Right? It's now time to break the cycle and push through, so you don't feel that weight of guilt, that weight of shame, that weight of survival mode, and turn it into thriving, right? Um it's just the emotional tax that, actually I did it correctly. It's just the emotional tax that we have to deal with sometimes, and I hate it. I will say I was I wasn't the first to go to school or post secondary, but I was the first to complete it fully. And not that it carried a weight per se, but um, it was there was some pressure. There was some pressure. If anyone know my journey in post secondary, there was pressure with finishing. And I mean, I'll say I'm above average student, right? But just that pressure of wanting to be valuable as a family, and being able to succeed, and show that self-worth, and all that stuff, it plays a toll, right? So I'm not saying that I'm effective, because I'm over that, like being the first to finish university and stuff, or post secondary, right? But there are different experiences or cycles that you want to break, and don't make you can't do it by yourself. Like when it came to um, finishing post secondary, it had to do with, like, mentorship, support, like of my friends, family, and all that stuff, to be able to push through, and just like tutoring or whatever, or the tutoring I did. Doing tutoring in post secondary is so awesome, and a different way to make some cash, right? Um, darn it, I think I forgot something. I think I forgot something, but also not feeling the guilt from family and friends, and learning to say no. It does get overwhelming. However, there is a promising side to this, right? Even though you felt shame, you felt the guilt, you felt the anxiety, there is a way to heal. And I want to give some tips and tricks. Tips and tricks. Actually, before I do the tips and tricks, um, this is how Canadians are feeling. Again, I'm going to show the article for a split second, and then I'm going to change my mind. I don't know why I do that. It's just how my mind works. Allow me. Bloop, 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 bloop. Hello, Money Sense. I like Money Sense as our as a website. Canadians are financially stressed. Is money trauma to blame? That could be something, right? Why are some Canadians stressed about their finances? 1 in 2 are losing sleep over their finances. That's a lot. 48%. And 3 out of 4 Canadians say their financial worries are some sort. Say they have financial worries of some sort. And let me tell you, baby, these are the good reasons. Groceries gone up, gas gone up, interest rates, golly bob, mortgages, home repairs and maintenance, holiday expenses. I Even though I know why holiday expenses go up because of the price, it's wild to me that we haven't accepted or learned how to just do with less. Less is more. Less is more. Let's be more present, right? Does this relate with anything that I want to say? Probably not. Probably did it too late. So let's just figure a way how to heal that doesn't involve money. I think that's a good way to finish off some tips, right? I want you to actually, yeah, this is something that I want everyone, if it's possible, if you're willing, you don't have to tell me this, but if you want to tell me it, by all means, I would love to hear and just have that like discussion, right? Journaling your earliest money memory. I will share one of my memories. Um, I well, one things first. My parents had a business very young. I was probably told that many times that I was in diapers or Pampers or whatever, helping my dad with his business. And even when that business dissolved and he was like a manager at a business, like on the weekend, I would go and help him. So it only made sense why I have a business too. And I'm like a workaholic because that's the only thing I know. Most of my friends hate me or are annoyed at me because all I'm doing is working and stuff and doesn't find time to like chill. I can't. Um, but journaling your earliest money memories and also having an allowance and how I maneuvered with that allowance is one of my earliest money memory. And to this day, I think having that allowance helped me to learn how to save. I always save for a rainy day because, baby, the rainy days are be coming. I'm gonna start calling them a snowstorm like Sunday. No matter what, you're gonna have a rainy day or a stormy day, right? So let's journal that. Also naming your money wounds. Um, let me see if I have an article for that. Hold on. Let's see if I can find an article about money wounds. Ooh, ooh, doo, 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 doo. Mm, mm, mm. Sorry, I got distracted. Um, you gotta think I have that one, right? Oh, I don't think we'll find one right now. Okay, whatever. Name your money wounds, whether you are a hoarder. Oh, I do have one. I did. Shiver me timber. Um, oh no, I talked about it. Yeah, name your money wounds. You talked about like in the therapy one. Whether you're a hoarder, whether you overspend, whether you underspend, whether you are so afraid to invest because you don't know how it works, or you're afraid or you're saving everything. It's okay. Just write it down. Just we want to be mindful of what our traumas are, so we can get past it, right? Or at least if we are able to identify and we're able to talk to someone, you're able to have a better chance in the future. Creating Another one is creating a money safe space. Financial boundaries. Learning to say no. No, I can't afford that. No, I was thinking we could do this. My money is not able to do that at the moment. Have that discussion. And if you're talking to folks that don't understand that or are being mean, I'll say that out. I had different words in my head. Cut them off. Bun them. I'm talking about family too. If they can't understand that, bun them. Right? Um and then also get my fams. Get my cards. What are we doing? When's the last time you looked and wanted to get my cards? And I'll say the one that I'm thinking about. I release the belief that struggle equals strength. And that's another thing that I have to overcome as well over me. Um, or working hard. I'm done working hard. That's where burnout comes into play, right? Um, so yeah, let's think of that affirmation. Let's think about these ways to heal. And this is just a segue of going into the healing, going from healing to growing. So we talked about the things we want to unlearn last week. I talked about a deep thing about like the things that are rooted into our trauma, our money trauma and stuff. Next week I want to find ways, or this week, some way, Saturday. I am gonna come back on a Saturday. I promise. I will. You will see me live. I promise. I promise. Just bear with me. I'm tired. Tired. Can't even tell you guys how many coffees I've had today. Um, but yeah. Um, it's another long episode as usual. But I definitely want to continue this series, and this time we're going to have solutions. I think the next 2 weeks is like solutions on how to get better, and having a list of ways to increase our income or our wealth. Sorry, increase our wealth, no matter what age we're at. Yeah. And I also want, like, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and everything. But also for my folks that are in their 30s and 40s, please talk to the younger folks as well. The ones that are in their 20s, early 20s. I know they're not gonna hear us all at once, but plant that seed as well. Plant that seed. That's one thing I'd want to. I want to plant the seed into the teens. I want to plant the seed into the 20s. So when they get to our age, or in our 40s, 50s, 60s, it's so much better than what we've experienced. I know folks that are in their 40s that haven't invested. Remember, I spoke about that last week. I want that trauma, that life, that reality to go away. I want the reality of us learning to start investing when we're 18. And I know so many people that have experienced that and have been able to suppress so many things in their past or future and stuff. I want that to happen for us. So please show someone this, have a discussion with someone about the things that you learned, and want to unlearn. This series is again, to unlearn, rebuild, and rise. Rise to the occasion. I almost sang Sizzler. But yeah, folks, that's another one, a long episode. Thank you for rocking with me. Thank you for being patient. Um, and for the folks that have been checking in on me and thinking about me, thank you. I appreciate you. Again, for folks in the Caribbean, the islands that are affected with, ooh, I will put that in my show notes. I have folks that are wanting to do fundraising and all that stuff. Definitely want to support. Um, definitely hoping, wanting to support and hoping others will want to support with them. So check it out in the show notes. Yeah, let's be a community still, regardless. I know you guys are having your internal issues, but let's also figure ways how to help others overall. Okay, because it takes a whole community and whole tribe, village to overcome this. All right, till next time, folks. Peace out.
I just wanna be free with my people to prosper and hold it down. Don't you sit and wait, contemplating on a revolution. The time is now. I just wanna be free. 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 Can't you see?